1460 WVOX.
Stay tuned now for the Racing for Heroes radio show with host Brett Morash on 1460 WVOX.
Hey, Racing for Heroes fans, it's Brett Morash. We are back. It's December 3rd, 2021. It's our last show of 2021 because next week we have charity laps down in Alton, Virginia, and I'll be down there ripping up the track with all the folks. Last week we had the Jamboree. We'll be talking to a driver from that, and then for next week we'll be talking to Jimmy Sprecher a little later, about halfway through the show. So our first guest, though, is a U.S. Army veteran. He was an Avenger operator, and we'll talk about that. It has nothing to do with superheroes, although I tend to think of our guest as a superhero. Is A.K. Whatley of Chaos Fabrication out of Winchester, Virginia. A.K., you on the line, man?
Hey, Brett, how are you?
I'm doing great. You know, it was such a great time last week, and you know, you were fantastic. Your wife was fantastic. I mean, I got everything from, you know, off-road driving tips from you and hair care tips from your wife. So it was just amazing. You got to get the fairy hair. In fact, we've already ordered some, the fairy hair tinsel, so it's on its way.
Perfect. I can't wait to see your daughter with the fairy hair. My kids love it, and my wife loves it. And if y'all don't know what it is, Google fairy hair.
Fairy hair.
I promise your wife and daughters will love it.
That's right. Well, I think I'm going to put a little in my hair, you know, just kind of bling it out. You know, we'll see. It's a brave new Navy. Hey, so, but let's talk about you. So like you were an Avenger operator in the Army. And I mean, like I said, in the introduction, you're a superhero to me, but that's not what an Avenger is.
No, it's not. It was something that I'm not really sure how effective it is. That's what I went in for. It's not what I ended up doing long term, but it's a missile turret on the back of a Humvee that has 8 Stinger missiles, and it's supposed to provide short range air defense.
Yeah, because
and they
go
look
ahead.
really cool. They look really cool. I've never seen them actually work in a combat setting.
Well, hopefully you never will, because I think, you know, you and I had talked earlier, and I was an Aegis guy in the fleet, and you know, our motto was sort of like, if it flies, it dies. You know, it was like all-seeing radar and all this, except when we would do things like go through the Suez Canal, where we couldn't deal with any of the real threats that were there for us. So we had to carry U.S. Army Stinger guys on board, and we had to like make it like super simple for them by putting them inside of a metal ring with a little metal plate to prevent them from blind firing a Stinger into the side of the ship.
Yep, I can imagine that.
Well, I like to keep it sailor simple, you know, and I think that that's the easiest way to go about life.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm sure the Army has something like that, so I don't want to say that the Army doesn't dumb stuff down for the lowest common denominator, but I know the Navy does sometimes on certain things.
Yeah, I believe that the Army does as well, just to make it easy, you know.
That's right, the KISS method. Well, you know, actually, it's funny. I was telling someone the other day. You were obviously Army, but you know what sports means, right? When you're using an M16.
Yes.
What does it stand for? No, I know, but you know what it is. Like, what is it? It's, you know, like it's what is it? It's sports. So it's like what, slap, pull.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't know that you were asking me. So if you have a misfire, whenever you're going to, and you have a misspeed,
yep,
it is how you would tap the magazine and pull the charging handle and
observe,
load the bolt back forward and send it some more down range. And that's just something that we have to remember. And it's not something you even go through. It just happens if there's a misspeed.
Right. But did you know that that's the exact same procedure for clearing a stapler? So I always told people, like, if you know sports, man, you are intimately qualified to be an administrative person in the civilian space. But anyway, but let's talk about your transition. So you love driving, and how did you get into Chaos Fabrication? And tell us a little bit about Chaos.
So I've always been into vehicles. I've always been into working in the garage with my grandfather when I was a kid. And that's kind of where I learned the basics of vehicles. And I've always been fascinated with them and how the suspension, how the steering, how they work. And then when I was in the military, we had Humvees, and I realized that I could take these things almost anywhere. So I thought, and I always wanted a Jeep. So I bought a Jeep and quickly started breaking that. and then had to figure out how to fix it and how to make it better.
Well,
and we've been doing that just kind of ever since. Figure out how to go faster, how to jump higher, and how to make them do what we want to do. Do the things that you see in movies.
Well, and you actually did it on television, right? I mean, you were on Truck Night in America.
I was fortunate enough to get to go on Truck Night in America, season 2, episode 7. It was actually the veterans episode, and I was really nervous to go on there. First time I was on TV, and I showed up, and everybody else that was there was a veteran, and it was like I was hanging out with my friend.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah. So you don't mind
fun.
beating them, but it's professional courtesy though too. So
absolutely, we're gonna have friends. We're gonna be friends and drink beer afterwards. But when we're racing, we're racing.
Yeah, because I mean I remember that particular episode, and like, didn't someone like waffle their frame on that one?
Yeah, the radiator came loose. My buddy Ryan on there, and we actually still talk to this day. One of my great friends. And he lawn darted off of the very first jump, and it messed up the radiator and bumper and all kinds of stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, I learned so much from that show, and you know, those people out there listening, the show's been off the air, you know, really since kind of COVID, but I think they had some tragedy with one of the major players on the show. But I learned that you don't hammer the brake when you go off the jump, and that's the key thing, because you don't want the wheels locking up. And this past week at the Jamboree, I had my wife's Land Cruiser and went over a jump a little too fast, and we got some air. And I just remember that like in my mind, burned in my mind from that television show. And so I landed okay and didn't jack up her mall crawler.
Well, if you bring me that mall crawler, you'll absolutely be able to send it.
I have to talk to Aline, see what she says. You know, normally she's a first grade teacher, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's her alter ego. But let's talk about your truck. I mean, you brought it down to our Jamboree, and you tried out our track, which I think that when Mike designed it, he had Raptors in mind. And I forgot what the Mopar car is that they brought out there.
Yeah. So when Mike put that track together, it was the Off-Road Revolution group that was coming down there. They're running Raptors and trucks, and we really want to do a lot more with that property in the off-road area. So get Jeeps out there, get trucks and more rally cars, and just really get families out there to share experiences and have a great time. And with this truck, there's a lot of people that are involved in making this thing do what it does, but it really showcases the key to tuned and dialed in suspension.
Well, and because you actually use your Raptor like as a daily driver as well. It's not just there to go tool around a track.
Right. I got to have something to take the kids to school in.
See, if you're up here, we have a four-wheel drive. I always argue like, the reason is because all the snow up here. But, you know, I was telling the kid, we were talking about it on the way back because my kids had a chance to go with you. And they were like, Dad, you know, remember when you used to drive over the curb and crush all the snow at Webster School? I said, oh, absolutely. I felt it was like my duty to use my truck to smash the snow for the next cars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I love about driving this thing down the highway is when I see the center median and I see jumps, I just kind of smile because I know that I can send it off of those jumps. I don't go do it, but I know that I can.
Well, you got to pre-plan because you never know when there's going to be a zombie apocalypse, and like guaranteed it's going to be paralyzed highways. So you might have to take the off-road. See?
Absolutely. And we're probably going to have to run over zombies at some point.
Well, your truck can definitely do that. Your truck can definitely do it. And I was amazed with the amount of travel that the suspension has in that, because I sent you some of the pictures I had where your car is kind of in midair, but then I also had it at sort of the other end where the compression had already gone all the way down.
Mm-hmm. So really we're building lowriders on big tires. At full compression, that frame is about 1.5 inches off the ground. And this is on 40-inch tires. And up front, there's about 18 inches of travel. Out back, it's about 30 inches of travel. And you got to see it from the outside. You saw how high we were in the air, but you also got to ride in it. So it wouldn't even spill a cup of coffee.
Well, I wasn't. My kids did. But they talked about that. In fact, they were so excited, and they said they kind of got cheated out of, I think, a couple more laps because that Lancer had rolled.
Yeah. Well, next time we'll take them in there until they're tired of doing it. And
That might be all day.
at any of the events that we're at, if you ever see a chaos rig that's out there, please come find us and just say, hey, can we go for a ride? It's just like if you know of a good restaurant or you find out something good, you want to tell your friends about it and you want to share it with them. For me, once you know what a phenomenal, tuned, dialed-in vehicle rides like, you want to share that passion with other people. And that's what we do. So if you see us, we're out there giving people rides to share our love of this with them.
Yeah, and it was amazing. But if someone wants to get into it, it's like even at like the most basic level, what would you recommend that they do?
Don't spend any money. Come ride along, come meet the community, come meet the people, the families that are involved with this. Talk to them and find out what works. Most people think that you can just slap wheels and tires on something in a cheap lift kit, but you're actually making the vehicle drive worse than it did stock. And a lot of times these lift kits will tear up the vehicle, but if it's done right, it'll drive magnitudes better than it did from factory, even if it's lifted.
Interesting. Yeah, because I don't think a lot of people realize that that's like a real thing. Like, is that, you're tweaking it from sort of like this basic roll off the factory. They're making money. They're producing a very specific vehicle that's, forgiving and all this other sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it could be so much better.
It can be. And, you were talking earlier about things being built for the lowest common denominator, right?
Yeah.
The manufacturers, yeah, they've got a great product, but they've got to build it for the masses. And what we do is specialize these vehicles for exactly how our customers want to drive them, how they want to use them, and where they want to go. If we build with the end in mind, then we can build these vehicles to go out, go have a blast, not break, and you can still drive it to work on Monday.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and like I said, that's what my wife's truck needs. And I have a 4Runner off road, so like that's kind of the next thing for me is to take a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to see you down there at VIR again. Now, where did you say you were going to be this coming up weekend?
Yeah, so so we have Charity Laps, which is sort of our other big fundraising event for the year. That's all full course at the VIR track, and that's this coming Saturday as well. So it's been 2 weeks of just go in a Racing for Heroes fun way.
Oh, I wish I could be there. This weekend I'm going to be at Summit Point for Drift Bana.
That sounds
Otherwise,
amazing.
I would absolutely come back down there and come see you.
That's amazing. All right. Well, AK, listen, we do have our second guest that's getting ready to come in behind you. But listen, if anyone's interested in Chaos Fab, where do they go?
ChaosFabShop.com. You can see what we build, what we do. You can watch that episode of Truck Night in America on Amazon Prime, season 2, episode 7. And you can also check out our off-road park, Chaos Off-Road Park.
Gotcha.
So,
that's awesome. And that's in Winchester, right? Roughly.
Just outside of Winchester and Cape and Bridge. And of course, you can follow us on all the socials, see where we're at, what we're jumping, and what we're driving when we send it.
All right, my brother. Hey, listen, thanks so much. And I hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brett. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, everyone. That was AK Whatley of Chaos Fabrication out of Winchester, Virginia. Just great man, great family, great military Army veteran, and as a fellow air defender, very near and dear to my heart. But with that, we're going to talk to our very own Jimmy Sprecher, the driver of Daisy, the Mopar dragster. So, Jimmy, how's it going, man?
All right, brother. How you doing? Good morning.
Oh, listen, good morning to you. How is Daisy these days?
Dorothy's doing real good.
Oh, Dorothy,
and,
sorry.
We got some things we're going to do over the winter. And, we took it out this last weekend down to Piedmont to help out one of our big supporters, Scott Embley, and, the Embley family racing. His car lost oil pressure, and he already had his entry fees. And we were like, hey, she's just sitting here, man. I'll bring her down to you, brother. You go and let her eat this weekend.
Gotcha. Did you drive, or was he in the wheel?
He drove. He had the entries, and so that's what family does. That's what the motorsports therapy world does. We come together and we help each other out when we can, and that's what it's all about. I had the opportunity to lend him and the team a hand. Like I said, they're big supporters of Racing for Heroes, so I hopped in the truck and took the old girl down to him.
There you go. And how did she do overall?
She's got some things to work out. She was spinning tires a little bit, didn't perform as good as I wanted to, but we'll get that over, the winter. We'll get it squared away. Could be just old tires at the end of the season, cold weather type deal. But we'll make it right for next year. And, we'll get out to the, like I said, we were at Piedmont this weekend for the Loose Rocker event, and we'll get out to a bunch of them events next year, hopefully. They're big supporters of the Race for Heroes, too. And, I can't thank Michael Beard and Ron Huntley enough, man. They put on great events, and anybody that's into drag racing, they ought to go check out one of their shows.
Yeah, when's the next? Is there anything else coming up, or is it getting too cold?
No, they're done for the year. This was their last event, but they have several throughout the country. And as soon as they post next year's schedule, I will be to our Racing for Heroes page.
Yeah, because the temperature matters a lot, right? I mean, because we actually had some crashes at VIR last week. It wasn't with our stuff, but some of the other stuff, like the club day stuff, they actually wrecked a Tesla. It's pretty crucial. If that track doesn't have any heat in it, the tires don't stick, and it can get pretty hairy at times. So they're good about that. They pay close attention to the weather and all that stuff, and they'll do what they got to do to get the race done. But racer safety is always first. Oh, for sure. Well, like I said, I never seen a Tesla racked up like that, and they basically told me that it was something along the lines of again, third person. So I don't want to speak for Tesla or anything like that, or have Elon Musk come after me on social media, but they were basically saying that the car was fighting the driver because it was, it's really designed to be in like a passenger car on the road, not racing around a racetrack. Yeah, you're asking the wrong person for that one, brother. I'm an old school, big block, carbureted guy. So let's talk about Mopar. Hey, so do you know what the Mopar is? That's kind of like the Raptor. What is that? It's like a Rebel, I do believe. That thing's way out of my price range. I never really even want to look at it and be like, wow, one day I'll grow up at that thing. You put enough money in your car. I'm just going to stick to my drag racing. I believe it's a Rebel or something like that. I think you're right. Because I know Raptor's sort of like the one everyone talks about, but I know Mopar has a vehicle too, and I'm just not smart enough right now. I'm more into the Land Cruiser and Toyotas right now. So although I used to be a Jeep guy. So yeah, I know we get some of them out there at VIR when we put on these events, and I'd like to hop my butt in one day and ride along and see what it's about. Yeah, that's for sure. Yep. Hey, so Jimmy, let's talk about next week, charity laps. I think I don't know if you're going to have a chance to get out there, but let's talk about what that's all about. I'll be out there next weekend, for our yearly charity laps, and we'll have the car on display and lending a hand. Like I said, the Race for Heroes family. We help out in any way we can. It's a great fundraiser for us, and anybody out there that's listening, go on and bring your ride out there. It doesn't make a difference. It got 2 or 4 wheels. You're more than welcome to come on out and let her eat on the world-renowned Virginia International Raceway. Yeah, and there's a couple cool things, right? So not only is it your car is going to be there, but you get to drive in the Heckler Brewery pace car. You can take your own car on the track, which is like $25 for the sessions, which are roughly 15 minutes or so, plus or minus. And, it's an opportunity to see what your car can really do absolutely. You're not going to, for that price, you're not going to, have a shot at that track in your life. It's a great opportunity for anybody to come on out there and see what their car will do. And, in the years past, we've had some pretty cool Lambos out there and, some pretty neat cars. And a lot of the guys out there say, hey, yeah, I don't mind if you hop in the passenger seat and ride along with me. So, even if you don't have a fast ride and want to come out and experience something, just come on out and show up. Yeah, it's nothing to show up. And that's important, right? Because I even last week when we were at the Jamboree, a lot of drivers had the passenger seat was empty, and my kids jumped in, and they got tons of time driving at high speed on the Patriot course in that case. But this week will be actually the full course, so even better. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if you don't have a fast car, but you want to have maybe the opportunity to hop in somebody else's, come on out. You can we're all just one big happy family. We're not going to be like, no, you can't come over here and talk to me or nothing like that. We love interacting with our supporters and people that follow us and stuff like that. That's what we do, man. We just want to make the world a better place. Well, it's more weight on the wheels of traction too, Jimmy, right? So it works out for everybody. It does. So All right, so let's talk about that though. So, motorsports therapy is one of our major programs here at Racing for Heroes. And when we think of motorsports therapy, it's really sort of like that feeling of focus and adrenaline rush you get behind the wheel, but it's also the preparation part and where you're getting ready to go on mission. So in a lot of ways, it kind of replicates your military experience.
Absolutely. It's more about that, it's definitely great to get behind the wheel, but, that takes time, and in order to get there, got to have everything just working right and safe. And that's where the foundation is built, in the shop, back in that team mentality, like when they were active duty service members, it's like, hey, I'm a part of something. And that's what so many veterans are lacking when they get out of the service. Is like, wow, I went from this structured place where, we had a mission, we had to accomplish, and then boom, I'm back in the civilian world and I've got nothing. And we get lost. We do. We absolutely get lost. And then, with Racing for Heroes, we try to bring that back, a sense of, hey, I'm part of something again, and a mission. I have a purpose. And, we're no different than any, go-getting organization out there. We want to make next year better than this year, so we hope to do a lot more of that. And anybody is welcome to come on out to the shop and say, hey, I heard about you on the radio, Facebook, wherever. Just come to check it out. And Mike and all the boys and James and Darren, Junior Arian, Will and all them, them guys will be glad to say, hey, come on out. Yep. And we'll go, just know when you come out there, you might get put to work, be part of the mission right off the get-go.
Right. Yeah, no, listen, I think that's all part of it. I mean, it's part of the teamwork mentality and, getting people focused on doing, working together as that team, for a greater purpose. I think at the end of the day, we're all better. The sum of the parts is great, is greater. Right. Yeah,
and absolutely. And it reinstills confidence in us. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I was lost, but now I found myself again, and I can apply that to other aspects of life. But life is not over after the military. There is a purpose for me. I may not be out there on the battlefield anymore, but I still have a purpose in life, and that's to make the world a better place in any way, shape, or form that I can.
Yeah, and there's also other organizations out there that's not just, Racing for Heroes, obviously, too. I mean, there's yoga for veterans and weightlifting. And in fact, up here, there's actually like a fencing for veterans up here. If you want to do, not putting fences in, but, like with the swords.
Yeah. And you got to get that ball rolling. And, some places like, in a shop around a bunch of other veterans and like-minded people is where that gets the wheels start spinning in your head. It says, hey, I can do this. I can branch out to something else. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I can make this happen. I just got to dig down deep and do it. I am capable of it. I did this in the military. I did that in the military. So you know what? I am capable of it. We just got to get these veterans to believe in themselves again.
Yeah, and that's critical. And I think that one thing I want to talk about, since this is our last show for the year, is this is where kind of buddy checks and stuff come in, where, if you know someone who's a buddy of yours, literally it's a buddy check, like call and check to see how they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk to these therapists and they will tell you this time of year is depressing, period. Everybody. So, but it's added on to when you have other issues already, like, you're lost in life because you don't have the military anymore. So that's absolutely something we should do. Call an old buddy. Absolutely. Just call them up and say, hey, man, just calling to check in on you. And then you know what? That could lead to a couple-hour great conversation that you need at that moment.
Well, listen, I can't tell you how many times that, I make that conscious effort to make those calls. And every time I even feel better coming out of that call. And I know that the people I've talked to, like, will reach out back again later, be like, hey, man, thanks. Like I was having a bad day and you called and things are just, thanks for doing that.
Yeah, they just gave me that extra little something to get through today so I can see tomorrow.
Yep. And I don't think that's just, listen, that's not just military guy to military guy. I mean, those civilians out there listening to the show, if you know someone who served in the military as a veteran, call them up, see how they're doing, just check in.
Absolutely. Every weekend I'm in the car. That's just one thing I say, hey, do something you have been meaning to do for this weekend that you've been putting off for whatever BS reason. And if you had an old relationship you ain't talked to in a while, make that phone call. What do you got to lose?
That's right. That's right. Well, Jimmy, listen, we're in the last minute of our show. Any last shout outs for the year going into 2022?
Yeah, we got to give Roxborough Motorsports Park, thank you for partnering up, this year and doing good things. We didn't get to do as much as we wanted to because my car was down a lot, but I'm looking forward to doing a lot next year. Get that ride-along program that we were supposed to do this year up and going for next year at Roxborough Motorsports Park there in North Carolina. And can't thank them enough. And obviously, Mike, like he always says, he's not just a client, the owner, he's the client. You know what? I'm not just a member. I was a client at one time too.
But
so
Mike's got good hair.
check us out.
So Mike's got a great set of hair. So
Yeah.
all right, Jimmy, listen, thanks again for calling in. I will see you next weekend. And just have a great 2022, obviously, out there on the track.
You as well. I mean, happy. Let's all make it a great Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Amen to that.
We all can start a new life tomorrow.
You bet, brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jimmy Sprecher, our drag driver in his car, Dorothy. Listen, next weekend is charity laps. Check us out on our website, www.racingforheroes.org. See what's going on, what's coming up. And if I don't talk to you again till the new year, keep driving straight and keep the car out of the woods. So, all right, take care, everyone. Bye.
I got a dream to chase and it just won't wait. It's just a little farther down the road.